Aloha and welcome to us. We're TEDx Honolulu, behind the scenes and beyond the talk. And my name is Samantha Hudson. I'll be your co-host along with
Rachel Yergin. I'm also with TEDx Honolulu. I am a productions curator. And with us today, we are very lucky and happy to have Ravi Pare from OceanIt. He is a design thinker and a man of many skills and talents, which we're going to just scratch the surface of today, but we're very excited to do that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
welcome. So tell us what you do, what you're working on, what excites you.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, start anywhere you wish. That's a lot of pressure.
Okay. So, well, I work at OceanIt as a design thinking strategist. I don't know whether you have heard about design thinking. It's a field which goes across several different disciplines, and it allows you to work with multiple disciplines.
Oh.
It's an interdisciplinary thing. Well, that's what I do at OceanIt. I've been here for the past 2 years now, and I'm really enjoying it here in Hawaii.
Great.
So is there a particular TED Talk that has inspired you to be an attendee at our event this year?
You know, TED Talks and TEDx Talks has always fascinated me. I think the first one that I watched was probably 7 or 8 years ago back in India. And this was by a French designer called Philippe Starck. And he talks about design and destiny.
Wow.
And especially because with his French accent, absolutely unprepared guy, just like a designer, goes onto the stage, talks about everything he can, and it's just fascinating because it's like every time you see it, you almost see a new message in it.
Sure.
Wow.
You know,
What's the name of it?
Philippe Starck, that's the guy
Philippe
who's
Starck
got,
is
yeah, he's a design. You must have seen that lemon squeezer, which looks weird.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's by him.
Oh, really?
And yeah, he
Wow.
talks about design and destiny in that. Yeah. Well, that was the first TED Talk, but I've always if you look at any fascinating subject, right? It is always fascinating to see someone in TED talk about it in a venue of TED.
Sure. And then this year you attended the event also to watch your boss, or
Yes.
one of the
Yes.
founders of
Yeah.
OceanIt,
Yeah.
Pat.
Patrick Salomon, yeah, it was awesome to just watch him talk about it, and because that is something that we have been practicing. I think what he talked about this time was intellectual anarchy and the art of disruptive innovation, and and design thinking has a lot of correlation to innovation itself, right? It's the only discipline I'd say whose core competency is about innovation. So we practice it a lot at OceanIt, and he referred to those three things which comprises intellectual anarchy. One was bringing out the kid in you, that you are passionate about what you want to work on, and then there is culture and environment. You create the right kind of environment so that people can fail early, learn quick, and allow them that environment to do so. And then you have the last part of it, which is trans-disciplinary thing, where people work across disciplines without limitations in being in their own lane. A guy who is in astrophysics could be working on light pollution and stuff like that, right? It could be all around the map, but you excel in any of the new fields that you go into.
Sure. And so we'll be interviewing Pat, I think, in July. We're working to schedule with him. But I think that just you're being, I guess, involved with him sort of on a day-to-day and working towards that same vision of intellectual anarchy is just very, very inspiring.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that third step that you were talking about, the interdisciplinary organization, of course, there's finding the kid, and that's the curious adventurer, okay, and then creating the space, the culture and environment to do that. But the interdisciplinary, I guess for the viewers who weren't lucky enough to see the TED Talk, although you can check it out online, but can you just tell me about how it is to work in a transdisciplinary organization? Because our world is not really set up for that. And
yeah, that's true. It's a very different kind of experience. The reason is, say, imagine right across my desk, right next to me is sits Ian Kitajima, he used to be the marketing director, but he does all sorts of roles now. And he was the TEDx speaker 2 years ago from OceanIt. Next to him is a mechanical engineer. Next to him is a physicist. This is just in one lane. So imagine that I want to do some programming because I want to find out about acceleration in football helmets for a specific test that I'm doing, and I know nothing about programming or electronics. So I just hop over, pull my chair over to Mike Hadmack, who is just across 2 cubicles, and find out, and I know everything about it within 10 minutes, or at least the best direction to follow. So all of a sudden, I have, sought out this expertise from him within 10 minutes, which would probably take me a day and fail multiple times to get to that same level of understanding in the particular project.
So is that what you would consider intellectual anarchy? It's sort of the combining of all of these different disciplines towards something that is just above and beyond.
Yes. It's in some way there is a correlation between like you would always like economic anarchy is like considered to be bad, right? Like whereas it's like, but intellectual anarchy is completely different.
Right.
From there,
It's
which
the
is
only
like
anarchy.
a good thing because, which is like you might be having expertise in a particular field and you can combine that with expertise in a different field, and together you can go into new lanes. Like I was telling you, it
Right.
need not be just about sticking to your lane like in most academics do, about furthering the knowledge in that specific field, but also crossing lanes and creating new lanes where none existed before.
So that's how you build this new idea, not just by getting more information in your own discipline,
No.
but getting information from
Yeah.
other disciplines
Yeah.
and adding that to
Yeah.
yours. Yeah,
And
that's,
and speaking of sharing with us and sort of being interdisciplinary, anybody can tweet or text us through going to @TED or
at
ThinkTech.
ThinkTech.
Yes,
Hi.
ThinkTech High.
ThinkTech
So
High.
Yes.
we can have a conversation with you here.
Yes, we welcome any feedback or questions.
Sure.
Yes, so TED Talks kind of opens the door to people thinking about new things in new ways, just like your business, I'm
Yeah.
sure, your company does foster that. And so do you guys have any thoughts of taking this in any different directions or growing in any different ways that you know of?
In terms of intellectual anarchy or?
OceanIt itself, or in terms of
Okay.
Ocean?
To tell a bit about OceanIt, OceanIt was founded in 1985 in Hawaii. Initially, it was working towards ocean engineering was our core competence, but like over time, we have always looked at not specifically in terms of problems that we face, in terms of discipline. Like if somebody comes to us saying that, oh, we got problems with like tracking satellites or something, and we would be able to do that. It's not discipline specific. So over time, we have gone across to so many disciplines and developed expertise in those fields, and we will continue to do so. Right? For example, 10 years ago, we had Ian talks about the superstars in his talk. Right?
Yes.
I don't know. He might have mentioned about Dr. Vinod Vidu, who was a doctorate student from UH, and he developed on his own the entire department of nanotechnology at OceanIt, and we did not have a
Wow.
department that way before him, right?
Wow.
So we go out and seek these superstars in the field to develop that particular technology, or not. It's just people dependent more than the technology itself.
Right.
Because in the end, no matter what kind of problems that you face, it's the people who will be able to solve it from different disciplines. I mean, the way I look at it is the challenges of the future or the problems of the future are fuzzy and undefined, and they always lie between disciplines. It's not going to be no one person or just one discipline would be able to solve the problems of the future.
Right.
You would always need
Right.
multiple people come together, multiple disciplines to collaborate to find a solution. And that is where I would say design thinking acts as a very good tool, because it is like a problem-solving tool where multiple disciplines can have a common language and go towards a creative solution.
Right. And Dr. V, wasn't he into nanotechnology?
Yeah, he was. And Dr. V reminds me that he used to have a show called Science with Dr. V. I don't remember
Yes,
the name of the
yes,
show, but
yes.
it's pretty
That was
popular.
it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Ian was telling me the story that if he's going to the supermarket, he would have kids running to him.
Right.
Oh, Dr. V, Dr. V. Yeah, it's cool.
And so you've been with OceanIt now for,
Close to 2 years. Yeah.
okay. And so the entire time that you've been there, you've found it just to be an opportunity to be interdisciplinary. And
Yes, I think
Yep.
my undergrad was in mechanical engineering, and then I did a master's in product design and manufacturing. That's my core expertise. But design thinking is my process expertise. Like, does it make sense? Like, design thinking is a process, and you can apply it to any field, like literally any field. It could be making your kid do your homework, to fuzzy problems where you are trying to relocate refugees in an international location,
Wow.
right? It could be anything, any kind of a fuzzy, undefined problem. You have a process in which you can approach such fuzzy problems. And that liberates you from thinking about a solution before, thinking of understanding the problem.
And I think that gets really to the core of what TED tries to sort of bring out in our community and individuals. The technology, entertainment, and design aspect is that true integration of interdisciplinary, different, different fields of expertise. And I think that to be able to hear that something such as design thinking is really facilitating a similar emergence of innovation and different solutions. Inspiring solutions is just very, very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And that's why TEDxHONOLULU is such a great platform for that, because we get to meet people like you and hear from, and these are concepts I never would have even known about, let alone, or learned. I wouldn't have known about them at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like if you look at TEDx talks and TED talks around the world, right? You get to hear about a kid from Kenya making the wind farm from what is available around him, and and it's like all sorts of things which is inspiring people to do better every day, right? I mean, that in itself is a great thing.
Well, like Dr. V had the nanotechnology, and now you guys are coming up with something called nanite. Is that true?
Yeah, we do have something called as nanite, which is like you could say it's a sensitive concrete. Like you could mix certain elements to cement or concrete to be able to get data from it. Or you can convert it to a sensor in a way, so it can conduct electrical signals. So if you look at it, I think Pat talks about it in his talk about how we talk about autonomous cars, right? But it's not just innovation around the car on four wheels. It's about the entire infrastructure. So imagine the smart highways. Imagine what is possible.
Right.
It's limitless. Yeah.
So it sounds like you could be the next OceanIt staff or person to give a TED Talk.
Oh.
I think so. He's got his own department.
3.
We'll find more about that next segment, but he's a one-man show at OceanIt. Not that there are any one-man shows there, but you have your own unique department, which we'll find out about. And can we ask you any correlations with any other TED Talks that you've watched? Any that have maybe shifted your paradigm or anything like that, which was the theme of our TED Talk this year.
You mean, this year? I think GoFarm. I really was fascinated with it. In fact, a friend of mine actually has a plot in GoFarm, so 2 weekends ago I was there just to help him out, plant some things, and just to have a look around on what is happening. And I think that's the exact kind of moment that you want, right, from these shows, where you are nudging people towards a better behavior, towards think broadly. I mean, create those discussions, essentially.
Exactly. Create them and then take it a step beyond. So now you heard it, and that's great, but now you have, what are you going to do with this information? You have this. Now let's put it into action and making actionable, steps that people can take.
And so we'll talk more about that, actually, after this commercial break. Thank you.
Sounds great.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard. I'm the host of Center Stage here on ThinkTech Hawaii. Center Stage airs every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and of course you can check out our archives on YouTube or on ThinkTech Hawaii anytime you like. Why should you do that? Because this is an arts show that I believe is making a difference in lives. We talk with artists of various ilk. We talk with painters and writers, playwrights, novelists, poets, sculptors, dancers, you name it, directors, actors, of course. And we don't only talk about what people do, but we talk about how they do it. And my favorite part of the conversation, we talk about why they do it. And it's really common on this show to hear people say, wow, I didn't think about it that way. And it's very common to hear people afterwards who have seen the show say the same thing. And I hear all the time that people are inspired by the conversations that we have. So why don't you join us and be inspired too? That's Center Stage on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. We'll see you Center Stage.
Hi, I'm Jay Fidel. That's Ted Ralston. Ted is the host of Where the Road Leads. It shows every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. It's about technology. It's about how people collaborate and solve problems with modern technology. It's where the road leads. We all know that. We should all be listening. Join us there, 4 to 5 p.m. every Friday. Now, what about that do you agree with?
All of it.
I knew he'd say that. Aloha. Say aloha.
Aloha.
Good.
This is Alice Lee Hagan, host of ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight. My show here at ThinkTech Hawaii is every Thursday from 3 to 4 in the afternoon. I bring in interesting guests from Hawaii, the mainland, and hopefully international guests in the future. Do join us on Thursday from 3 to 4 p.m. ThinkTech Hawaii Business Education Spotlight.
A little more space.
How do you use space?
Aloha and welcome back to TEDxHONOLULU, Behind the Scenes and Beyond the Talk. We're here with Ravi Pare from OceanIt, and we've been enjoying our conversation about design thinking from actually a TEDxHONOLULU attendee perspective, and knowing how integral design thinking is to a lot of the fundamentals also of our TED Talks. It's been just so fantastic to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
but because you had the insider and the outsider knowledge. You know, you were
Yeah.
in the OceanIt, who was one of the speakers, so you have that information, but you also saw it as a viewer, so that
True.
must have been, or an audience member, must have been really interesting for you.
Last year around, we had an exhibit when Ian Kitajima was speaking. This year, we had an exhibit as well, but we could go in to see the talks, and that was, I really looked forward for that, and it was amazing. Some of the talks really, like the bikes which were on the side,
Yeah.
they could pedal them to power it. And
Did you help power our
I
event?
did.
Okay,
I
good,
did.
good.
I did for a long time. No, not too long. But also, like, it's such simple things about some of these powerful speakers, right? Like, for example, GoFarm was something which I really resonated with. We were talking about this, me and Natalie and my colleague. After the talk, we were talking about which was the talk that inspired you the most. And for me, I think it was GoFarm with this like little punchline about converting egg curious to egg producers. It's such a simple statement, but also such a powerful one.
That's
Right?
true.
Things like this that you hear, you spread the word essentially, right?
Absolutely. And so maybe you can explain a little bit about how the design thinking process could stimulate those kinds of ideas, like going from ag curious to ag conscious, or
I think one of the, like the more you understand about this complex world, the better you are in no matter what field you are in. And that's true with design thinking too. Essentially, there are many tools, which like design thinking has got multiple tools, one of which is you are trying to grab from many different disciplines to like analogous situations and develop stuff. So the more you understand about this complex world, be it agriculture, be it sustainable energy, be it transportation of food, or any sorts of thing, or intellectual anarchy, all of this thinks you or teaches you different stuff. It gives you a new facet to a known problem. It makes it easier to work on different projects that you're working on. I don't know whether that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, definitely. So we talked a little bit before the show about stay in your lane thinking, and you had some really different insights on that. So maybe you can explain what that is and how it fits. And
Sure. I think when we think about interdisciplinary stuff, right? So say imagine, I'll give you an example of a complex problem. Say relocation of refugees, right? Now, to solve something like that, there are most of the refugee camps around the world. They last for, it's planned for 6 months, but the refugee camps last for more than 30 years. Generations of people actually stay there in a particular refugee camp. Now, if you look at a complex problem like that, you wouldn't even know where to start, right? You would need people from different disciplines. Now, let's go to a simple problem where we are currently working on a boot drying fabric, which is for the Marines.
a what?
boot drying.
Boot
Oh,
drying.
boot drying.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the U.S. Marines have a problem with, they have this.
Who likes to have soggy shoes? I'm sorry,
Especially in
when
the
you're,
field.
Yeah, when you're hiking, you get blisters.
Yeah.
It's so uncomfortable.
It's uncomfortable,
Yes.
and the problem with the Marines is even more. It's like a magnitude higher, because they carry, if they are deployed, they are carrying one pair of shoes. They are out there and they get just like maybe 6 hours of downtime when they have time to dry their shoes, which probably sometimes they will have to wear their shoes and sleep in difficult situations. But these shoes perpetually stay wet, right? So we developed a kind of a special fabric which can absorb and dry these shoes within that stipulated 6-hour time, right?
That's
So
amazing.
now the interesting part is one of our engineers who is working on it, he developed there is a method called electrospinning of some complex polymers which is tested onto the fabric. But the interesting factor is that our engineers actually built the machine to make the fabric too, down in our basement. So that's
Wow.
right. So it's not that we are our capability is making machines, but we can go beyond our fields to develop new things to accommodate what we want to do.
Sure. So you are capable of really managing or executing the
Yes.
entire process from
Yes.
the concept to
Yeah.
the production
Yeah.
of the concept.
In a way, and that's something like we have a couple of words for that. One is like we say it as mind to market. Actually, Pat is writing a book right now. It should be out sometime. Probably he'll speak about it in his
I
talk.
know. Don't
right?
give him away.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's a teaser. Tell us a little bit.
Teaser.
Yeah. So we have this concept called mind to market, where you have from idea all the way to the market. So we are looking at that spectrum of it. Or the other way of putting it is from art to part, like you say in the design world. From art, like in a sketch, towards a part, right? So, like a product.
So do you have people that you have manufacture things on large scale, like, or large quantities, or do you just give the prototype to the client and then they do the rest?
It changes from product to product, or some of the projects are different, where, say, imagine if it is as a system, which is something like, say, GPS locator or something like that, or GPS. Like, it becomes as a proposal with the solution, which is tested out as a research paper sometimes. But there are also products, like the ones that I'm talking to you about, like the boot drying system.
Right.
That's going to be manufactured. Right? We are producing very soon in a pilot scale, which will be tested out by the military. And it also has potential successes in commercial industry. We are looking at both the markets. So that would be something which would be manufactured.
That's great. And I mean, you look at the ripple effect that your business and your job alone, or even just break it down even smaller to your day, like the one product that you work on it. I mean, the ripple effect that even the boot drying system has, because now the soldier is able to keep his mind on the mission, and that protects the country more. You know what I'm saying? So the ripple effect of some of these designs, this innovative thinking that you have, is the stuff that changes the world.
Yes,
and it starts there. And
And that's exactly what we try to do also at TEDx. We try to spread ideas that are world-changing.
exactly, that will be
Yeah.
catalysts and put
Exactly.
people in action. And
Exactly. And if you viewers have any ideas that are world-changing or just want to join our conversation, you can tweet or Facebook us at ThinkTech. Hi. We would love to hear from you and get you involved.
Great. So, at the tip of the spear, there is no roadmap.
Yep.
That was something that,
That's it?
yes. Can you?
It's true.
Yeah. So, what is that like to work with no roadmap? I mean,
I think
often.
it's liberating.
Yes.
Because you get a license to fail.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, failing is part of it, actually.
Yeah, because that's how you learn, right? Because often we spend so much time trying to perfect something so that it doesn't fail. But the very moment you liberate yourself from that vicious circle where you say it has to work, you are actually building something so you quickly, so that even if it fails, you are learning from it and then proceeding further. So you are actually constantly, you are laying the road as you are driving on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can say I haven't heard many people so comfortably say that they're okay with failing quickly.
Right. You fail, you dust off, you keep going. Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
That's I think that's one of the fundamental mindsets of design thinking, where you want to fail, but you want to fail quickly. It's not like waiting until the last moment when the project is to be delivered tomorrow to fail, but actually fail often in the first and second day, where you are like trying to figure out the solutions. You want to try out 10 different solutions, fail in 8 of them, and learn from it, and then develop the other 2 which succeeded as well. It's like creating choices before making choices.
Ah,
So,
wow.
But you start off right from the beginning. So.
Yeah, it's like the beauty of trial and error,
True.
but sort of accelerated.
Yeah.
And it sounds as though to an end of having these really paradigm shifting outcomes.
True.
So
Yes, very fascinating.
very fascinating.
So can you tell us, or our viewers,
Mm-hmm.
what, how they could apply this in their own thinking or their own lives, with their own problems? How can they use design thinking?
Well, okay. So design thinking as a word was coined in the early 2000s. It started off in Stanford in the late 60s, when for the first time probably that the engineering and the science departments came together and the arts department came together and said that we need to humanize technology, right? Where user needs are the basis for developing stuff, rather than asking people to morph themselves around technology. But that took almost 40 years for it to grow itself inside Stanford, across disciplines, across departments, where, say, people or students from policy making, law, medical, engineering, everyone could come together and use the process and take it back to their own fields. So until late 90s, it was only within the engineering department and the designers. But what we realized was it needs to have, as a common language, it needs to go across different disciplines so that all these disciplines can work together with the same fundamental language for a creative approach towards problem solving. Now, actually Hawaii has something called as Design Thinking Hawaii as a group, non-profit group. Incidentally, right on Monday we have a week-long boot camp happening.
Tell us.
Yes.
So it's a week-long boot camp, and this is the 5th year we are having it. And for the past 3 years, it has been locally organized and facilitated. The first 2 years was the Stanford alumni came here and helped the Stanford Fellows.
Oh.
But now we are doing it on our own right here. So the next week one, it's done in 2 layers this time. Like we have a beginners boot camp, which is run for 2.5 days, and the second half of the week would be for the intermediate boot camp.
Oh.
So essentially, people come in teams from different organizations and from public schools, learn the process, and go back to implement it in their fields.
Wow, that's fascinating.
And the good thing is you have all of this content is Creative Commons. You could just go to either D-School website or Design Thinking Hawaii website. You have too much of content, a lot of content
Right.
to learn anything that you want. And yeah, we often have workshops for teaching at least the basics of it. And every year,
OceanIt?
yeah, OceanIt does it. Design Thinking Hawaii does it too. And every year we have this larger boot camp as well for those who are interested.
Where is it?
Oh, go ahead.
This is going to happen in Ko'olau Ballrooms.
Ko'olau Ballrooms.
Yeah.
Where is that?
It's right after the Pali Bridge.
Oh, okay,
I don't know,
okay.
yeah. I know the hiking route to that, but not
Right.
there.
So
Yeah.
how many people would you say have participated in the Design Thinking
You
Hawaii
know,
workshop?
I think 3 years ago we had almost 300 people attend the boot camp. I was not there that particular year, but this year we are going to have about 120 in the beginners and about 30 to 40 in the intermediate boot camp.
Oh, that's great. That's
It is a lot of
lucky
people.
for them
Yeah.
that it's a smaller amount. It's
Yeah.
large amount of people, but it's small enough where they can get even more attention.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is it still time to sign up, or
I think it's probably too late.
too late? That's
No.
all right.
But I think one of the other thing is the beginner boot camp. We are still looking for people who can be interviewed during the event. So maybe we will put up some information on the Eventbrite.
Oh, fascinating.
And provide a link in ThinkTech maybe for people to come and join us.
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay.
Fascinating.
Sure. All right. So what would a day at this boot camp look
Look
like?
like.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, the beginners boot camp. So design thinking is a 5-step process, but it's an iterative process as well. So you go through these 5 steps again and again, and you are refining the solution as you go.
Oh.
That's
So-
when you have the opportunity to fail again and
Right.
again until you get it right.
Yes, absolutely right.
Yeah.
And you also spend a certain amount of time trying to identify the right problem before jumping into solution, right? So what the basis of this kind of boot camp, like especially the beginner boot camp, would be they would do a practical hands-on challenge for the first 2 hours where they would design something and learn through the process, at least get comfortable with the process, because it's something unlike any other process. It feels different. right?
Right.
Because it is this, you start off with this uncomfortable feeling of not knowing where the answer is. You are actually directionless. In the beginning, you feel, a lot of people feel, like we have been taught fundamentally about knowing an answer. It's like you know a destination and you're driving towards it, right? But design thinking fundamentally is like wayfaring, where you know that you are going to a better place, but you don't know what that destination is. And this is uncomfortable for a lot of people. So we walk through the 2-hour challenge where they get at least familiar with the terms. As a team, they get to understand what it is, and then they dive into a like almost 2-day challenge where they dive deeper and learn some more tools, right?
Wow.
So in the end, because you learn by doing, there is no point in teaching about, like I can talk about design thinking for like 2 hours, but you probably won't understand anything. Instead, it's better to just walk through a workshop, which is very, very easy, and you get to understand it better. And in the intermediate bootcamp, our focus is to make sure that we empower these people with even further tools so that they can go back to their organization and begin to use this process. When I say design thinking as a process, although it starts from identifying a problem, understanding and exploring more about the problem, and then solving it, in many, like I said, it's an uncomfortable process. That means that you have to set a stage, both in the organization, in the team, to use something like this, which is completely new. Like, so it means that fundamentally changing the culture. So we want to provide tools where people can initiate that, like to begin to use the process.
Yeah, I can imagine that identifying the problem, or you think that you've identified the problem, but maybe it's not quite the problem.
True.
And maybe that's part of the process. And I could personally see that as being a sort of like very tense experience,
Yes.
like thinking I know what I'm working towards.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, after discourse or maybe getting through one of those 5 steps, you realize that, wait a second,
That's not the problem.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
not the problem. That's
It's
not
quite,
the problem.
one of the things that we have realized is that by reframing the problem that you're trying to solve, often lies your biggest chances to innovate, right? Like we often talk about this example of this helmet which was designed by a Swiss company, I believe, which actually is a necktie sort of thing, which it's simple in terms of design and technology. Essentially, it's a bicycle helmet, and if somebody were to fall, it just activates and protects your head.
Wow.
Right? So essentially, the helmet is not on your head. But when you look back, for hundreds of years, we have been redesigning the helmet. But every time we framed it as how do we do a faster, a better helmet, sleeker helmet, lighter helmet, collapsible helmet. But every problem had that helmet in its statement, which means that before you even started the problem or finding solutions, you already had part of a solution, that it was a helmet. So it is a box in itself, right? So reframing provides you an opportunity to think outside that box.
That's fascinating. And I think we're going to hear more about that.
After
After
this
the
commercial break.
Okay.
How did you know?
I heard her.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon, and on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm Hunter Hevlin, host of Sustainable Hawaii here at ThinkTech Hawaii. You can tune in every week on Thursday at 2 p.m. to see interviews with sustainability professionals from around the state and even further abroad, learning about activities with water management, food security, waste management, and a whole host of other fascinating opportunities to get engaged with making a greener island. So if you're interested in making the transition from consuming individuals to communities of producers, check us out every Thursday.
Aloha and welcome back to ThinkTech Hawaii. We're TEDxHONOLULU, behind the scenes and beyond the talk. And we are here with Ravi Pare. We're talking about design thinking and also his experience as an attendee of TEDxHONOLULU Paradigm Shift this year, and also as an employee at OceanIt. And so for this portion of our show, we're gonna get to know Ravi a little bit better and kind of just understand your motivations, inspirations for moving to Hawaii, being involved with design thinking, and
That's okay. That's going to be a long story. Okay, so I had not heard about design thinking until 4 years ago, but I was in the field of design, I should say. It was just by accident that I got into product design as a discipline because I saw somebody's portfolio when I was about to apply for my master's in India and was fascinated by it. And I joined this program, and it was all about designing and making stuff, right? It's a well-established field as product design where you identify a problem and develop concepts and test it out, and in the end you have a product. And I was fortunate enough to join the automotive industry soon after. So I had a great mentor who used to be a professor at the university before. So I had this opportunity to experiment and try and learn. So over a span of 4 years, I worked on commercial trucks and military trucks and a lot of different stuff, and it was fun. But automotive industry has, when I had gone on an expedition in north of India, in the Himalayas, and I had been to that particular place just soon after an auto expo, like an international auto expo. We have demonstrated some of our technologies at that time. And incidentally, we came across this couple who were carrying their kid back to the city because the hospitals was not even there. Right? They had to walk for 3 days on this frozen river just to get to the city to take care of the kid. Now, the irony was that I was just coming from an automotive show where we had just displayed a technology which was about telepresence and telemedicine. Now, when you look at these two different worlds, it's almost, we have designed something in our own bubble, which will never be implemented and change the lives of these people I'm walking in front of right now, right? And that taught me that although design, like if you look at design as a field, 95% of the designers work for less than 1% of the people in the world, right? I wanted to change that, and I was wondering what are my options. I was looking at, starting up on my stuff or doing a master's or a PhD. I was open to anything. And that is when I stumbled upon the program at Stanford, which was the Joint Program in Design, that's what it's called. That was the one which was started in the 60s. And the reason why I noticed it was there were this bunch of projects about social innovation projects in Nat Geo, and they had 10 projects, out of which 5 came up from this program called Entrepreneurship for Extreme Affordability. And I was
say that again?
Entrepreneurship for Extreme Affordability. It's just called
Entrepreneurship for Extreme
Affordability.
Affordability.
It's a program.
Wow.
Yeah. It's been running for the past 10 years now in Stanford, and it's like you have business students, medical students, engineers, product designers working together on complex problems in the field with real people. These are not made up projects for the classroom, and that was fascinating for me. So I came in, and that is when I heard about design thinking. So my motto for coming to Stanford wasn't design thinking per se, but about making a change in the world. But soon after I finished the program, I had some fascinating experiences working on some of these projects because, like I said, design thinking is most often better learned when you are working with it on the field and using it. So soon after, I was lucky enough to meet Pat and back in the Bay Area, and both of us were fascinated by the stuff that we were working on. There was a lot of similarities, and I'm here.
And he wooed you. He's like, we need you.
And like, if you were to, before then, actually, I don't tell this to anybody afterwards, but if you had asked me where is Hawaii, I don't have known at the time. Like, it's some fascinating paradise in the middle of the ocean. Yeah.
Well,
so that's how I'm here.
Yeah, and that seems to be a theme also from some of the things that I've heard about OceanIt and also Stanford, that there's quite a focus on solving social problems, or at least coming to solutions of social problems.
Yeah.
And I think that also ties back in with the multidisciplinary aspect, that it requires like the School of Medicine, the School of Engineering, the School of Business, and it really just all has to come together so well.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because I would like to hear more about the social, you said there were 5 social
projects which I read about.
Yes.
Okay, let me try to recollect. It's like,
I'm sorry.
I can tell you, like it was in the November magazine, maybe in 2010 of Nat Geo, if I'm
National
right.
Geographic.
National Geographic.
Yes.
Nat Geo. Just an industry slang, you know.
But I think one of them was about a chili grinder for Ethiopia. Then there was, these are very, very simple projects. If you look at it, the technology exists for making them a success. The money taken is very, very less to create it. It's just that the intellectual power of making such a thing happen is very less. Like, it's one project I remember is called a Mighty Mithad. I am pronouncing it right, I hope. It's like a pan made of clay in Ethiopia to make the tough.
Oh, the bread that they eat? Yes.
So it's a pan made, but people almost spend about 20% of their income, monthly income, to buy one of those, and they frequently crack. Right? Now, the simple solution one of my alumni came up with was having a metal band around it so that it doesn't break. It was a fantastic, simple solution which made those pans last for 10 times more longer. All of a sudden, it could change lives of people. But it's not that he came up with a solution in a dream, right? There is a process to follow to arrive at those innovative solutions. And that is what he followed as a process. And there are multiple, things like this which are done out there.
Do you guys do any sort of social innovation
In
at OceanIt?
OceanIt, we do. In fact, we have this product called Mercy, which is for disaster management, or rather, disaster data management, I could say. It's like as of now, it's a command center with apps which can go into your Android phone or iPhone, and anybody can report disaster by photographs and tagging them, and it could be in a centralized location where it is easy to manage the disaster. So imagine, like, for example, one of the things we were trying to do was see if we could go to Nepal to help people out, because one of the things that happens in most disaster-struck areas is that you don't know where resources need to go. And if you could collect this data, it could be radical. It could be very good, where anybody with a phone could tag data together so that you can make dynamic assessment about where help needs to go or resources needs to go.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah, I
And
think
it's been used in Chile and as well as in Big Island during the volcano. Ian was out there testing it out and using it out there to collect this data.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
wow.
You'll be able to see more about it in much better detail on our website for sure. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is truly paradigm shifting, sort of harnessing the intelligence of technology to really sort of solve or facilitate improving human conditions.
Yeah.
And sometimes it seems like it can just be being attentive, paying attention
Yes.
to just small things.
Yes.
Even like it sounds like putting the rim around the
The clay pan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that those kind of things are paradigm shifts.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, and so we are about to wrap up, but I think that we could maybe round out our conversation with circling back to your favorite TED Talk.
Oh,
And
okay.
just wondering if there is a certain tagline or
Something that sticks with you that
that should stick with us.
Yeah.
And that
With
folks
the-
can also,
okay.
tweet us at
I
ThinkTech
think,
High.
okay, I think the TEDx talk I talked about Design and Destiny by Philip Stark was really an interesting one. But there is no particular tagline in that, unfortunately. But he talks about how he starts off by saying that you might be knowing me as a person who designs toilet brushes and toothbrushes. That's what I do. But he goes through the entire thing and says, that's why I continue to do, even if it is a toothbrush, I continue to make a very good design out of it.
That's
So,
great.
yeah.
That's great. And that's what you do.
Yeah.
Who knew that when you saw that talk that
Yeah.
now you'd be here?
Yeah, right?
And that's fantastic. So thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us, Ravi.
Thank
and thank
you.
you all for joining us with TEDx Honolulu Behind the Scenes, Beyond the Talk. See you next week.